You build a system based only on success. The thing is, you don't plan or you don't think of what can go wrong. But if you build for failure, you build already looking at any possible edge case that can make your system to go wrong. So what makes a system break? There's a lot of factors that actually play a part or have a role actually in determining whether a system will be good for what you need it for or whether it won't. So the biggest problem that we do see in a lot of systems that exist today is that systems are built for what we call a happy path. A happy path is where you sit in the lab, you do a lot of tests, everything looks good, it works, there are no issues, but there's a difference between what happens when you're sitting on a desk and what actually happens when you're on the field. When you look at the type of business that we are in customer-facing type of business where we have products that actually go to the clients. So there are environmental factors that play a role there. There are load or actually pressure. That is where we do see that pressure actually exposes weaknesses or it exposes whatever it is that the architecture was hiding. So when you look at a system, when you look at infrastructure, you have a look to look at it from a perspective of the type of data that goes in. It's not always going to be clean data. The type of networks that are there. Is it scalable in a sense that did you build it knowing that there will be times where there will be a bigger load and times where there are a smaller load. So the biggest problems that we see or that I see with system infrastructure or that causes a system to break, it's more about building a system that is designed to survive real-world systems or real-world problems as opposed to building a system that is only tested in the lab. When something fails at 2 a.m. in the field, it's always a cliche. We always look at it from a point of there needs to be someone on standby who's ready to take that on. But I look at it from a different perspective. I actually think leadership is the one that needs to take ownership of any system or anything that breaks. The reason is I think leadership needs to drive the image. They need to drive the type of approach that they want to see from whenever a system breaks. Look at it from a perspective that when a system breaks, it's not necessarily just a product that went down. This is pretty much the relationship that you have with the clients that actually is breaking. So that is where I see leadership as the ones who need to take ownership, because from there, they decide on the type of triage or on the type actually of rules that needs to be followed whenever a system breaks. You have all the way from the first steps which decide whether your system is scalable to be able to handle whatever breakage or whatever load may come. They need to decide on whoever is going to be responsible and what steps, what guides it to be able to actually come to an end goal or to a conclusion. So in my view, when a system breaks at 2 a.m., there are a set defined rules and actually guidelines that needs to happen within the organization, all the way from whatever is designed as the work procedure, all the way to whoever it is that is on call. I do not necessarily see accountability being held to either the dev or the technician who is on the field who is resolving the issue. The accountability needs to come from leadership, because leadership defines the system that needs to be in place to ensure that we are able to recover from whatever that it is. All of these things are cost driven. If a system breaks, that is something that is of high impact to us as a business, to our clients, to whoever it is that is using the system. So we need to make sure that we have set defined rules. Not only that, but you need to look at automation. Automation is one of the biggest things. You cannot always rely on when something breaks, we will always have someone on standby. My biggest belief is to build a system which is self-responsive to whatever breakages come. In that instance, what that means is that when there is something that goes wrong, whether it's 2 a.m., whether it's 3 a.m., even during a standard working hours, human intervention needs to be almost the last will of response when all else fails. But we need to build a system where we are sure that whatever breakage occurs, the system is able to respond. It's actually able to correct itself up until it's stable. Only in times of critical failure where essentially whatever automation you have in place is not succeeding, then we bring in the element of human. But essentially, I do believe leadership needs to be held accountable for anything that goes wrong. The biggest thing when you build a system, from my perspective anyways, we need to build for failure. I think that's one thing that can be confusing. What is this human being talking about? If you look at it from a perspective, if you build a system based only on success, the thing is you don't plan or you don't think of what can go wrong. But if you build for failure, you build already looking at any possible edge case that can make your system to go wrong. When you buy a product for everyday use, you don't buy it expecting to have, in software development, we use the term known bugs. You don't want to drive a car knowing that if I press the brake this way, oh man, it's gonna do this. That is not something you look forward to. So essentially, you need to build for failure. That is the very first thing that I stand strongly by. You need to make sure that whatever it is that you're building, you build considering anything that could go wrong with that system. Like I said, our products are very much client facing. These are devices that are in the field. These are systems that are being used by people, and it's systems that are being used in critical states. You are talking about recovery. You're talking about analyzing the cost and the return on investment on whatever that it is that you use. So you need to make sure that the system that you build essentially is guarded against failure. Failure will happen, but you need to put in as much as you can to make sure that you've built for that. Not only that, but you also need to consider resilience. You need to build a system that is resilient. You need to build a system that is maintainable. One of the biggest problems is you build systems, you build this architectural infrastructure that is extremely big and wild and full of tech. But when you look at it from a maintainability perspective, you can't necessarily enhance it. We live in a very interesting time right now. There's a lot of technology that is there that we can use, that we can play with. So it has given us actually a lot of opportunity to review what is out there, to ensure that your system is sustainable, to ensure that your system is maintainable, your system is resilient. Essentially, whatever that you build, you need to build it not only for the now, but it needs to work throughout, even for the coming generation. You're not building a system just for yourself. It's a system that is going to be in operation now, and you need to look at it from a long-term perspective. That I would say are my non-negotiables. The cost of building systems that are not resilient, it's actually a very big cost, because first of all, if something goes down, that is trust between you and your clients breaking completely. That is whatever product that it is, not only externally. One thing that I've noted is that if trust is broken internally, there is no product belief that can be sold outward. So you need to also make sure that whatever product it is that you're building, internally first, you also have that trust, you have that confidence that everybody believes in the system. So we need to build systems that you know that internally there is a lot of acceptance, reliability, and trust in it. And also externally, that is something we need to also make sure that the product is. So when a product isn't resilient, what that means is that first of all, the cost is it's kind of like an exponential cost. It starts internally and that ripples across your sales pipeline. What that also means is that when they go to the field to communicate with people, they do not have the confidence in the system. It doesn't only affect the people that you have currently, but it affects the growth of the business as a whole. That is where you keep seeing that the people that are there, you're not getting a return on the investment that you've put into the product that you built. You spent a lot of money to build a product, but now when you look at it from a product of ROI, there isn't any return that you're seeing. But that is because the confidence internally isn't there. So that is why when you build a system, you don't need to hide around things that do not go well. You need to build a system that even your internal teams are fully confident in it. We also see an effect when you look at the existing clients. in a way, if you have a product that is not working, you are guaranteed to lose the people that you have. Not only that, there is cost of development, there is cost of fixing whatever it is that is broken. So the cost consistently grows if you look at it from that perspective, because if something is not resilient, there needs to be always someone available who can always act when something goes wrong. You always need to have people that are always trying to build something to make that system more and more resilient. You always have to try to build confidence or to get new people in so that you can take away the doubt that is already within the organization. So you need to make sure what you build, the product that you build, has value, and that value can be seen from internally all the way to the clients that you are actually servicing. If the confidence is there from the internal teams, then it's easy enough for them to go out there and to actually sell to whoever it is we are selling to. So I think the cost of actually a system that is not resilient is actually your business. It's actually whatever the product it is that you're selling, because you end up taking away whatever it is that you want to sell because nobody has confidence in it anymore.